And now it's time for Mr. Graham's homework help. You got the homework help. Let's do it. Alright guys, let's move on. There's quite a few problems in this particular batch of homework, so let's try to move quickly so the video isn't too long. You can always rewind and replay if you want to. Here's what the second model looks like, showing all the steps at once. There's a page prior that you can pay attention to get some background information on what they're talking about. The sum of the ones value is 11. Where do you see the 11 in the equation above? The sum of the ones value is 11. So that's the 7 plus 4. And they're asking, where do you see the 11? Well, you see part of it right there and part of it right there. So the answer is you see the 11 in the one on the one in the one where the answer is, and the one that gets carried over. There's your 11. The two ones that I circled in red, you can see them. And that's because when you add 7 plus 4, yes, the answer is 11, but you don't write the 11. You write the ones place 1 right there, and the tens place 1 gets carried over. The sum of the hundreds value is 1400. Where do you see the 1400 in the equations above? So we're looking at the hundreds value, and I'm going to erase it so we're not confused what we're talking about right now. And the hundreds is right there. That's the hundreds place. Ones, tens, hundreds. 6 plus 8, 14. Or in other words, 1400. We see it very similarly. Right there and right there. So again, we see the 1400 kind of in two places. We see it in the answer and carried over. Oops. Carried over into the thousands. And if you guys can hear a little squealing right now, there's a dog in my house that we're foster caring for, and it's just a little bit of a crybaby. Don't worry, I'm not mean to it. Mr. Graham's not mean to dogs. Why are there numbers above the tens place and above the thousands place? And they're talking about, of course, these ones right here. Why is there a 1 there and why is there a 1 there? Well, we kind of talked about that already. We talked about how we need to carry over. Because when you add and get an answer that is 10 or over, you need to carry over. You need to carry over. So you can't just write double-digit answers from your addition problems. You have to do 7 plus 4. That equals 11. The ones place goes there. The tens place gets carried over. 6 plus 8. That equals 14. The 4 from 14 goes right there, but the 1 gets carried over to the next spot. And if you don't do that, you're going to find yourself getting a lot of problems wrong. If you do that correctly, you'll be just fine. Explain how to add two 4-digit numbers if you need to regroup tens and hundreds. That'd be hard to explain with words, I think, for you guys. The best way is to show it. So why don't you show two 4-digit numbers, like 1,872 plus, plus 2,311. So what you would do is you would add those together and you would have to regroup. You would have to regroup because you do 2 plus 1 and that equals 3, sure, and 7 plus 1 and that equals 8, why not? But then 8 plus 3 is going to give you 11, carry the 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, And you can see what we did. Explain how to add two 4-digit numbers if you need to regroup. Well, it's simple. You just add, drop the ones place, and carry over the tens place. Carry over, carry over. If you know how to carry over, you'll be fine. Let's look at these problems right here. A video game company sold 5,680 copies of its new game on the first day, and 3,235 copies on the second day. In just 2 days, how many copies of the game did the company sell? Well, that's not so bad. All we got to do is, what did I do? Sorry, I skipped a page. 5,680. And what are we adding? We're adding 3,235. So this is an addition problem. I know that because they want to know how much they sold in the 2 days, not just one. And 0 plus 5 is where you start. You start on this side. 0 plus 5 is 5. 8 plus 3 is 11. And you got to carry the 1, kind of like we did before. 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And 5 plus 3 is also 8. Let me just make sure I use the right numbers. Yeah, easy as pie. How many copies of the game did the company sell? 8,915. And if you want to be 100% right, if it's a word problem, you should have a word answer. So it's not just 8,915, it's 8,915 copies. Alright, let's look at the last area I think I asked you to do tonight. They show you the steps in a subtraction problem with regrouping. How is regrouping thousands shown in the problem above? Simple. They regroup the thousands by borrowing. Have you heard of borrowing before? That 4 turns into a 3. So let's put that. The 4 turns into a 3. Hold on, I don't like the formatting of that. I want to delete that. The 4 turns into a 3, and the 0, I'm talking about this 0 right here, gets turned into a 10. And whenever you borrow, remember, even though that 4 got dropped down to a 3, that doesn't mean that you only add 1 to the place that you're borrowing to. That 0 turned into a 10. So you actually added 10. So you subtract 1 from one area and add 10 to the next. Why is the 10 crossed out in the hundreds column? They're talking about this right here. Why is it crossed out? Because there's a 0 right next door. And that 0 had to borrow from that 10. So that 10 turned into a 9, and this 0 turned into a 10. There's lots of borrowing going on here. I don't think I'm going to type the answers for every single one, because that would take too long, and the video will get needlessly long. But just listen to me speak, and you'll have an idea of what's going on. Explain the regrouping. I'm on number 9 now. Explain the regrouping shown in the tens column. They're talking about this right here. What happened there? What happened right here in the regrouping over there? Look, again, the 10 turned into a 9. And right next door, what did that 2 turn into? A 12. So there's regrouping on almost every single spot of this problem, every single place value. And all you have to know when you're regrouping is the number that you're taking away from gets dropped down 1. But the number that you're making bigger gets plus 10. Take away 1, plus 10. Take away 1, plus 10. Take away 1, plus 10, and you're borrowing and regrouping correctly. Don't let this word regrouping scare you. Regrouping and borrowing are the same thing, and they help you subtract problems that have tiny numbers on top and larger numbers on bottom. Why are 12 ones shown in the ones column? That's over here. 12 ones are there because we borrowed, we regrouped, and we added 10 to that 2. Explain how to subtract two 4-digit numbers if you need to regroup in all places. Well, basically, if you want to get that answer right, all you'd have to do is explain what happened here. And what happened there? Well, we borrowed, we regrouped, and borrowed over and over again until the numbers on top, 3, 9, 9, and 12, were bigger than the numbers on bottom, 2, 1, 5, and 3. And then, finally, we subtracted. Oh, there's a little bit more. All right, a little bit more. This time they're going to ask us to do some work and not just explain things. There were 11,402 fans at the Hawks game and 9,617 fans at the Bulls game. How many more fans attended the Hawks game than the Bulls game? A big clue that this is subtraction is the words how many more, and that word right there, than, with an A right there, not then, than. This is simple subtraction. So let's go ahead and do it. 11,402 minus 9,617. And please take note that I take special care to line up my place values correctly. This 2 is smaller than the 7, so we have to cross it out and we have to borrow. This 10, this 0 has nothing, so we have to borrow for him too. And you have to be careful that you remembered that this 12 borrowed from a 0. So, wow, we actually have to turn that into a 9. And where did this 0 get power from? Where did it borrow from? It borrowed from the 4. So that's a 3 now. Does this 3 have to borrow? Let's see. Is this 3 bigger or smaller than that 6? It's smaller. So we have to borrow and turn it into a 13, which turns that 1 into a 0. Now, since we're at the end, you can pretend this 0 and 1 are connected and that they're actually a 10. And then you do simple subtraction. 12 minus 7 is 5. 9 minus 1 is 8. 13 minus 6 is 7. And 10 minus 9 is 1. And you get 1,785. I think I'm going to leave this last problem for you guys. See if you can borrow and regroup effectively. If you have any questions, sorry about that, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to ask me in class. All right, good luck. I'll see you in the morning. Bye.